we're ready. Are you ready?
Mic check, Petty Officer First Class Michael Denice, Coast Guard Public Affairs. Happy to be here. Good?
Right here. And then the crew, if you guys can make your way in here.
Excellent. All right, everybody ready? Good afternoon, my name is Petty Officer Michael Denice. I'm with Coast Guard Public Affairs Detachment Tampa Bay. I want to thank you all for coming today. We have some great news to share about the rescue of 2 divers that happened in the past 48 hours. We have representation from the Coast Guard and FWC here to speak. The representatives will be coming up. They'll give a brief statement, and I'll introduce you to them now. We have Commander Bill Walsh with the Coast Guard Sector St. Petersburg. We have Major Roger Young and Lieutenant George Wells, the captain of the Gulf Sentry, is here with us today. After each of them give a brief statement, we'll give some time for about 5-10 minutes for some questions. And then if you want to do sidebars, we also have representation from the Gulf Sentry crew and Coast Guard Air Station Clearwater, who did the rescue yesterday. So we can set that up on the sidebars if you'd like. And without further ado, Commander Bill Walsh.
Great, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Today is a great day. Over the past 2 days, the Coast Guard, along with FWC and Pasco County, searched over 1,700 nautical miles off the coast of Anclote, searching for 2 missing divers. To do that, we had 9 Coast Guard FWC helicopters. We had 13 small boats from various agencies assisting, all in an effort to locate Mr. Havlick and Mr. Hayes. We're really blessed here because I can tell you to locating a person in water is not easy. If you can imagine from a helicopter, from a small boat, trying to locate somebody who's treading water perilously in the water, it's not easy. But we had some of the finest Coast Guard search and rescue planners working very hard since yesterday to come up with the search plans required to find these 2 men. We're fortunate, like I said, to have some of these professionals here. I'm grateful that regardless of day or night, I can pick up the phone, I can call our partners at FWC, Pasco County, or any other agency. Tampa Bay has a fine group of rescue professionals. In this case, FWC, along with the search planners, the Coast Guard search planners, found these people. So hats off to FWC and the search planners who made it possible to find these folks. So it's a good day, and I'd like to turn it over to our FWC partner, Major Young. Major?
Thank you, Commander Walsh. Appreciate everybody being here. This is a special day, and it was a serious situation that had a very positive outcome, and it is definitely a blessing to be here to be able to share that with you guys. Thank you for coming. I want to first state, again, thank you to all our partners in this. Obviously, FWC is one component, but in this Tampa Bay area, we are very blessed to have a very strong maritime law enforcement community on the water. Along with that, we have a lot of good volunteers as well that help us do our job. At times, it can be a very difficult mission. Search and rescue is difficult, especially inshore. When you get offshore, it's a whole other ballgame. Make no mistake, the United States Coast Guard is outstanding at what they do when they coordinate search and rescue efforts in this environment. We were contacted by the Coast Guard to assist with this search and rescue yesterday, and they put us in the right spot at the right time. Following their lead on search patterns, our offshore patrol vessel, the Gulf Sentry, was placed in a location, and they were very fortunate to be able to find the subject that was missing this morning. So we want to thank them for their communication, their coordination, and we want to thank all our maritime law enforcement partners. We also want to just say a few messages about safety on the water. And obviously, we would strongly emphasize and stress that everybody, if you can, while you're out in the water, to have an EPIRB. That's an emergency positioning beacon that will help us locate you if in the fact that you get lost at sea. It'll give us a starting point, and the starting point is better than we can ask for in those conditions in an environment. Also, file a float plan with your loved ones or with your friends at home or someone before you leave. Again, having a starting location to help with search and rescue efforts gives us a step ahead of the ball game, and will definitely help in our successful rescue efforts. Also, we like to always never want to miss an opportunity to tell people that life jackets save lives. So if you can, wear your life jacket when you're on the water. Encourage your friends, family, and loved ones to wear their life jackets on the water. Be safe out there, and we want everybody to enjoy our beautiful resources in the state of Florida, especially the Tampa Bay area. We are blessed to have a lot of them, and we want everybody to have a safe day on the water. So thanks for coming out. I'm going to turn it over to our offshore patrol vessel Gulf Century Captain, Lieutenant George Wells.
Hello everybody, I'm Lieutenant George Wells. In the state of Florida, we're blessed to have 13 offshore patrol vessels, just like the one behind you. We have 2 heavy endurance vessels in the state of Florida. One is located here in St. Petersburg, and the other one's located in Marco Island. With these vessels, they'll cover anywhere in the Atlantic Ocean, as well as the Gulf of Mexico. Primary missions include search and rescue and federal and state fisheries enforcement. So just real quick, several crew on our boat today. We got working in partnership with the Coast Guard. We got our search pattern. We went out there, and one of the crew members on the crew said he saw somebody in the water, and luckily we were able to go over there and retrieve the person in the water alive and bring him back here and have him safely back with his wife on land right now. So we're thankful for that, and we're thankful to be able to have vessels this size to do this job, and also our partnership with the United States Coast Guard.
With that, we'll open it up for about 5-6 minutes worth of questions. You guys want to take it?
Major Young, you mentioned the EPIRB, the float plan, and the life jackets. Of the 3, did these guys have any of those?
I'm not going to talk about any particulars on this search and rescue effort just because I wasn't, obviously there on scene when it happened, so I'm not really privy to those details at this point. We can get you that information at a later date, but obviously those things will help us find people when they're offshore and when they're lost, so those definitely help when something like this does happen. So.
Maybe Lieutenant Wells can tell us the semantics of how you found him and how he was doing and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we were headed out to the search location provided by the Coast Guard. We were en route to the actual search location. We didn't even actually start our search pattern yet. We were probably approximately 5 minutes from our search pattern, and Officer Scott Smith spotted something. And he asked me to go over there, go check it out, and it ended up being the person in the water. So what we did was we saw that he was waving for help. Everyone, our crew deployed a life ring, pulled him over to the side of the boat, and he was so exhausted he couldn't actually get in the boat. So Officer Smith entered the water and helped him climb up the ladder, while Officers Reese Alvis and George Hughes helped pull him aboard. We gave him several bottles of water and steamed back to St. Petersburg, where he is at home right now with his wife.
When he came out of the water, did he have a life vest? Did he have anything?
He had all of his scuba gear on, BC, his tank, wetsuit, fins, a full scuba gear.
Buoyancy gear?
Yes.
Also?
Yeah, yep.
So that probably saved him overnight.
Possibly, yes. It helped keep him afloat, similar to like a life jacket would.
What are the chances of finding somebody out there? Is this like a needle in a haystack kind of situation?
It is kind of like a needle in a haystack, but with the partnerships and search patterns and everyone working together, we come together as a team and get the job accomplished, just like we did today.
Can you tell us the demeanor on board once he was on board and you knew he was going to survive? That's got to be a high-five moment.
It was. Everyone was excited. We're always excited to, to rescue someone. That's what we train for. We train with other agencies. We train amongst our crews. We train statewide for this one moment right here.
And time is your enemy. He was out there overnight. If I was a betting man, I would have said, probably not going to make it. But you guys go out there with the idea you're going to find him.
Yes, sir. We go out there to save lives, and that's what we did today.
So did they separate from their boat, or did their boat lose anchor?
I don't have all the details on the actual case. We can get maybe offline. We'll get that to you later on.
Was the boat recovered?
I don't have those details either.
Well,
Commander
they were on a
Walsh
dive
may
boat
know
We
more.
can talk about some of those.
They were on a dive boat with a bunch of other people, were they not?
We did. There was 3 people, 2 divers, 1 person was left with the boat. The divers came up from the water. Sure. Sure, happy to. So there were 3 people on the boat, 2 divers and 1 person was left with the boat to watch over the dive buoy that was attached to the divers in the water. The divers came up from the water, saw the boat, but it was a little far. They started to try to swim. One person was a stronger swimmer than the other. He made it a little bit farther, lost contact with the second diver, who's Terry. That's the guy we found today. And so that's kind of how they got separated. You are right, fortunately they did have a buoyancy compensator on board. Both of them were found to be afloat and in the upright position. They did not have an EPIRB, and we mentioned that because an EPIRB would have saved us a lot of time. We got the call yesterday afternoon, and we were searching through the night. Had he had an EPIRB on, dive-rated EPIRB, we probably would have found him much earlier if it was activated.
He did not have it.
He did not have one.
How
So.
are these 2 men feeling when you guys found them?
Actually, I think that's probably a good question for the Lieutenant Wells to answer. So I don't know. I can probably ask soon, but Lieutenant Wells, you want to kind of tell him?
Yes, can you say the question one more time, please?
How were they both policemen feeling once you found them?
We only found the one, but the one gentleman we did recover from the water, he was in good spirits. You know, he's a fighter. He had a will to survive, and I personally think that's what helped, you know, keep him alive throughout the night.
Did he have any stories about anything happening overnight? Any sharks? Anything unusual?
Yeah, he didn't share any of that stuff with us. So.
Time for about 2 more questions.
So did I don't know who this is most appropriate for, but did the driver of the boat, what happened? How did they get separated? Did the boat go away on purpose? Was it an accident? Did they not locate the diver?
So a few hours ago, we conducted a survivor debrief, and we're doing an investigation. So things like that are the same questions that we have, and we do not have those at this time. So we'll finalize our report. We may be able to answer some questions like that later.
Are there going to be criminal charges?
No, I wouldn't assume there would be any criminal charges.
How were you alerted? Is it over the radio? Is it they come ashore and say, hey, I was in this direction and we lost our divers? How were you made aware?
It was by radio, Channel 16.
This guy lucky to be walking amongst us today.
I think anytime you cheat death like that, you're lucky. So, somebody asked a question earlier about how easy is it to find somebody? It's not easy. I mean, if you think about if you were in the water floating, about this much is showing of your body, right? And maybe your arms if you're waving. So it is a little bit of luck, but it's also a little bit of science. The folks in Sector St. Petersburg who are planning this search took into account of all kind of different factors, such as how fast can you drift wearing a life jacket or wearing a dive tank? How long is their functional survival time in this climate? In this climate and with the equipment he had on board, he could have survived out there for 120 hours, and we are up to about 40. Now, other factors go into that, but we were searching through this and telling our crews they're going out there like this guy is alive, and they were. So,
Great. Thank you very much for everyone coming out.
Thank you
Appreciate it. Any sidebars that you guys want to do, come meet with me, and we can work that out. We also have a lieutenant here, a public affairs officer from Air Station Clearwater. They can talk a little bit in detail about the rescue that happened last night.
Any video from this morning?
We put out a video release. If you didn't get it, I'll make sure you get it.
I got last night's, but not today.
No videos. Nothing has
So
been
the
sent.
hoist one is the only one I have.
That is correct.
All right, with the Jayhawk.
That's correct.
So was there a boat out last night when they rescued this guy?
There were boats out last night.
So did they see the?
It's different areas, so you're covering it.
Did the dive boat stay out there till searchers came out?
No, the dive boat actually came back in last night. The mariner on there was not as experienced, and so he wanted to come in before nightfall. And FWC kind of worked with him a little bit, but yeah.
So when you say a dive boat, it wasn't a